Hi, my name is Adrian, and this is the 1 year anniversary of Easel, so I wanted to give an update about the project, as well as show what it looks like to use Easel today. So if you've seen Easel before, a lot of this will seem familiar. You've got a code editor, an NES emulator, of course, a terminal emulator, an embedded web browser, and all Easel does is it gives you a place to put these projects, these tools together and share data between them. You can also lay them out in a easy way, resize them. And yeah, that's basically the only responsibility of Easel is the pane management. The tools actually live outside of Easel. But that's basically how Easel has worked for the last year. Here I want to show what's happened since then. So one of the main projects in the last year was working on a code editor called Collabber. And the idea was just to have a code editor embedded in Easel that I can have deep integrations with other tools. So this code editor that I've been working on, it has syntax highlighting, par edit, and code completion, and a bunch of other things that you would expect from a typical code editor. So we're not going to talk about that because that's all boring stuff. Here I want to show what it can look like to have a bunch of tools that share data and manipulate data together. So for the Clojure Conch talk, I gave a talk about defeating Bowser with A-star search. And it was the first project where I really got to use Easel the way I intend Easel to be used. So this is an NES emulator, and it's an actual real NES emulator using the original ROM for the 1985 Super Mario Bros. Game. This is me playing in real time here. And you can see there's a bunch of data here at the bottom. If I change speed, you can see the speed update. And this has really been integral for working with the emulator and seeing what the state of the emulator as you're working with it. But not only can you view the data here in the UI, you can also get that data out of the tool. So if I drag this here, you can see it def var. And we can start using that data in our program. So if we were interested in the UI position here, we can now look at that. If we move Mario, drag in the updated state, look at the Y position, we can now compare them. And so this is a really convenient way to go back and forth between tools and data and code. Let's look at another example. So all of these tools, so this is just a data viewer. And you can see every tool has this little share icon. And their share icon lets you drag the current state of that tool to wherever you need it. So let's drag it into this data viewer. And we can see it has a pane, which is really just about the Easel management. But we can also look at the state of the applet here. And I happen to know that since this emulator is stateful and single, it does not support multi-threading, the way we communicate with it is via core async channel. So we can drag this core async channel here, the retro work chan, and we can send data to it. So if we send some data saying to write to this memory address, we can see that Mario is jumping over here. If we want him to jump forward a little bit, we can also change his X speed. And so this is another example of tools that produce data and manipulate data and being able to visualize that data and then putting that data back into our program to manipulate the tool programmatically. Let's look at another tool. So this is just a save list and it has a bunch of save games. And so you can open new save games by clicking the save states. So we can start playing from here, or whatever. That's not super useful because I can't play more than one emulator at a time. We can also just drag the save states into our emulator and start playing from there. So not only can we drag the data between tools, we can also, again, take the data from our tools and put it back into our program. So a lot of times what I like to do is instead of just using the name that's generated, is to give it a nice name. So let's drag this data here. We can see what it looks like. It's a map, and let's def it. And here is a bit of code that presses, it says press right, so let's have it press left. I'll have it press left for 120 frames. So, and then return a new save state. So we create a new save state programmatically from the save state we got from our tool, and we're going to drag it into our emulator. So that's what happens if you press left from where we were. If you remember that our initial save state was here. So, and then if we press left, we end up here. And this is all live. We can also see what happens if you're curious if you press right for 2 seconds. So that's what happens if you press right for 2 seconds. So you can see this interplay between tools that create and manipulate data that go into your program, which helps you create new tools and debug your program and add new features, which lets you create more data, and on it goes. And these tools, you can spend as much time on them as you want. So this code editor itself is a tool. I spent a bunch of time on it, but it's also really important that tools do not need to be these heavyweight things where you like, if you want to make a tool, it's like you got to, block out a whole week and that's what you're doing. It's really important that you can make tools on the fly. So here's a simple tool that I made. And it basically does what we were showing before, where there's a button that lets you jump. So you can like jump across the level. Let's try that again. So jump, okay. And then you can also cycle Mario's status. So you can see Mario's status here, and if we press the button, it's going to cycle between 0, 1, and 2. And so 0 is small Mario, 1 is big Mario, and 2 is actually Fireball Mario. But since we're manipulating the addresses programmatically, it's actually not swapping the palettes, but you can still shoot fireballs. And this tool you can see is not a lot of code. It calls this jump, which looks like the code that we wrote earlier. It sets the speed, and if you update this, everything gets updated dynamically. So now he's not going to move it all to the left or to the right. He's just going to jump straight up and down. And likewise, you can also update the UI programmatically on the fly. So we just added a new button. It's going to do the same thing as our jump button, but we can then change that and add that as we're working on it and as we are curious and need to experiment. So this is basically the workflow that I envisioned for Easel. And I think this method of working gets more powerful the more tools you have that take data, return data, manipulate it, and so on and so forth. And so I think Clojure is a really powerful platform for this. And I think having an IDE that plays that same game of taking data and returning data is also really powerful. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of the intuition of what it feels like to use Easel, although I think that's hard to convey. And if you thought that was interesting, stay tuned. I hope to have a lot more to share over the next year.